Oh my goodness, yay! Hi, Duke. Duke's all patiently waiting over on YouTube. Let me unpin that message that I put that said we're starting soon. You guys. Okay. We are now live over on one of my YouTube channels. I've got two channels. One is for reading books, one is for more traditional triggers. Obviously, we're going live on the reading one. If you could open up the YouTubes, that would be amazing. I don't think you can use them that way super easily, low-key, like, unless you mean getting a whole ass surgery. That's crazy. Yay, there we go. Deep fried, hello. And Mr. Banana, thanks for being on the YouTubes. We are back for more Mysterious Island action. Huzzah! That's what the tiny tunes. Oh, Enko. Hi, Enko. Oh, let me, hold on. There we go. Switch to cardioid mode for reading. And also, let me just, and now, at any time you can always do !book. Bring up what we're reading and a link to where you can download that, and then let me copy paste that over into a YouTube chat and pin it over there. Huzzah. Loki, sounds good. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, yes, we are indeed working towards unlocking the YouTube Partner Program, and so every person that subscribes over there, and also every minute that you watch over there is helping me with that. And one of the easiest ways to help with that, for absolutely free, is you know, if you're gonna be here watch and stream anyways, if you watch over on YouTube, then that goes towards the watch hours that I need. Very much appreciated. But obviously, like, if you're watching on your phone and you can't open to it, like, don't stress about it. Just letting you know. Where the heck is my lip balm? Because my lips get unbearably chapped whilst I read. Next time we'll do, forgot that was a possibility. What, watching on YouTube? I can watch you on 4 different devices. I mean, look, technically that would be helpful to me, but if it gets to the point where just like having me surrounding you on every device just makes you hate my face, it's not worth it. Like, don't drive yourself to that point. Already do. Buddha, you haven't even said hi yet. That's what you come in on. Surround sound. Phone, MacBook, iPad, PC. That's crazy work, Crafty. I mean, I appreciate it as long as you don't end up hating my face. I'm excited to get back into our story. Oh my goodness. You've been here from the start, just waiting for your opportunity, just like lying in lurk, like a predator, just like waiting for your moment to strike. Oh, thank you. I have been getting better at doing that, low-key, switching from top chat to live chat. I've been getting better at remembering, but I had totally forgotten this time, so thank you. Since before the bunny raid? What the hell? I mean, thank you, I guess. Thank you. Girl, oh my god. When did you get a lip piercing? So long ago? Like, when I was 18. But high peace all night. But yes, many, many moons ago. Olivia, hello, welcome back. Good to see you. Cubby, hi. Like the live stream or perish. I mean, look, if you perish, I take no responsibility. I can't control what Olivia does. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll probably continue to refer to you as Cubby, maybe, because I sometimes forget who is who when you guys have different names. But good to know. Good to know. I'll try to remember that and link those things. Quantum Weasel, hello. You guys, thank you. I really, really appreciate everyone watching over there. Yeah. Okay. You're gonna go to sleep very soon. It's after midnight there. Totally fine, Miranda here. Well, I know you came in with the ASMR raid, so you may or may not be interested in the story reading part. But if you are, the YouTube channel has playlists of readings. So, you know, if you feel like listening to them later, they're all organized into playlists there. Hi, boss man. Hello. Vengeful. What? Why are you calling me a dork? What? What have I done to earn that? I mean, you don't have to list things. I'll check it out tomorrow. Sounds good. So lovely to meet you, Miranda here. Hope to see you again. Have a lovely sleep. Oh man. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Alright, we are going to give a little recap of what's going on. We are reading The Mysterious Island by Jules Verne. It is a kind of sequel to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You're just here aura farming. I mean, I guess it helps me out with my watch hours, so that's fine. Totally fine. Rita, hello. Hello. What sending mod love in chat? None of my mods are here. None of my mods showed up today. I'm not actually upset. Wait, a giveaway? Our tags? Okay, if anyone on Twitch, sorry YouTube, on Twitch, take away the mod love. If you would like a chance to win a mug that says, I like book, type exclamation mark enter for a chance to win. That is so sweet. Artax, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, even if you're brand new here, yeah, please feel free to enter the giveaway. And get yourself mugged. Get mugged. Jake, good night. I guess yaks. We're mugging, not mogging. Vladrula. Like Dracula and Vlad, I love it. Well, technically Artax is mugging chat. You guys, I'm finally getting to the point where, like, my bangs they're not fully grown out, but they've been growing out, and now I'm missing them. So dumb. So dumb. So dumb of me. Alima Crazy, wait. First off, congratulations, you've won the mug. Your name is Ilima? This whole time I thought it was ILL. It's IIL? Oh. Wait. So have I been saying your name wrong this entire time? Should I even be pronouncing the I's? I have? No, why didn't you? You've been here like a long time. Why have you not corrected me? Wait, so is it supposed to be like Lima? Or like... Yeah, but I thought it was like ill. It is Lima. Wait, that's what I have been saying. It's just that it's II instead of IL. Oh, wait, okay, so it's not Lima like the bean. Yeah, I thought it was Lima like the Peruvian city. For some reason. I don't know why that's where my mind went, but... Okay. Well, how... Can you spell it out phonetically how I should be saying... Like, because I've been saying Ilima Crazy. Is that close? You've been pronouncing Psalm wrong the whole time? Oh, you're saying that to none good. Have I been saying it right? Yeah, I've been saying Lima, but I've been saying Ilima. This is really important. These are people that are here. I feel so mortified. So don't even pronounce the I's. Just Lima Crazy. Also, congratulations on winning a mug. Okay, I can do that. Well, you know what? I may have had the spelling wrong in all of the name traces I've ever done, but it sounds like my pronunciation was not that far off. Dude, I think I've said both for you, but I think that I say Rita more often. Is it Retta or Rita? Let's just get it over with. Who else am I mispronouncing in chat? Who else? It's Red? Okay. Alright. You're actually Butter. You're actually Booger. The Booger 337. Also, hi, Sky Santiago. Hello. I get your name perfectly. Yeah, for some reason, like sometimes, 'cause I know we had a conversation like the very first time you came in and clarified how to say it, and it got locked in my head. But you also say KB wrong too. Okay. I feel like you're probably joking. But I can't trust anything right now. Ardex, thank you for doing that giveaway. That was so sweet of you. I don't get your numbers correct? 1323? Why? What did I do? What did I do? It's not Lav, it's Lave Lilac Moon. I got yours perfectly. Yes. Heck yeah. So glad to hear that. Yay. On mine, some say Ryu, some Ryu. What do I say? I feel like... which have I said? Which is correct? Ignore... Yeah, which is correct? Sinchobi! Oh my goodness, Sinchobi, thank you for the sub. Thank you. How's it going, Sinchobi? It's good to see you. You hate when people say 337. It's 337. It is 337. I'm with you. The gulls are mocking me. Whichever you feel, really? Rianosk. Yeah, I could see either working. It's Syncobe. Well, yeah, like, is there just if there. Look, if I say your name wrong, genuinely, please, you know, you can correct me. I'm happy to be corrected. Whoever got your name wrong, you never corrected them? Oh no. Aw, Fladrala, thank you for the follow. And I am saying that right. Yes? Okay, cool. Alright, well. Alright, the gulls are still mocking me. Hi Sierra. Good to see you. I have to tell you, I love when you do my name trace because of how you say the Z as Z. Well, yeah, because it's a Z. That's the only way to say it. You pronounce my name Cutie Pie. Yeah, the gulls are really feisty. But you know what? We are reading a book where they're stranded on an island. So, not the worst background noise. Okay. All right. When you first met someone who pronounced it different from the American way, it made you so happy. Heck yeah. Gasp. Dude, I'm so, like, I love the new emote. I can't wait till I can upload emotes on YouTube. That will be so nice. You've considered making a second profile just to have more Zeds for a name trace. I mean, you could change it from Artax with a T on the end to Artax with a Z on the end. Artax. And you get that sweet Z in your name. We do read here. Yes, sorry. Usually I try to jump straight into reading, but got a little derailed there. Hi Nexus. We do. Okay. It's art tax. Oh, we all know the art tax. We all suffer. Okay, you guys. We are reading The Mysterious Island. And 5 men got lost in a hurricane for 5 days. 5 men and a dog got lost over the ocean in a hot air balloon in the middle of a hurricane. And eventually, what's mysterious about it, we don't really know yet. We don't really know yet. I mean, it's mysterious at the moment in that they don't know where in the world they are. They know they're in the southern hemisphere because of the constellations, and they came from the States, so they've traveled a ways. But they don't even know if it's an island or, you know, some little offshoot of the continent, a continent. They don't know. Your name has a silent nuts at the end. Okay, so I'll continue not saying nuts at the end of your name. Wait. Hades nuts. Oh my, how has no one been making a Hades nuts joke this whole time that Hades been in chat? Gasp. Isn't this like the movie? I don't know. Fladrula, I actually don't know. Is there a movie of The Mysterious Island? So I cannot say, but probably it's quite different. I'm have nothing to back that up on except for the fact that often movies are quite different. I've never seen it. I've never read the book before. We did read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea back in 2023, so it's been a few years. But Oh my god. Okay, so yes, one man and the dog got swept up in a wave almost like just before the rest of them landed on this tiny little island. Was lost to them for days. They hunted for the man and dog, couldn't find them, had given them up as dead. And then they did find them because Top the dog is the goodest good boy. Good night, Pius. Thanks for hanging out. You found out there was a movie because you were looking up trigger warnings. Oh, interesting. Okay. Ooh, maybe after we finish the book, we'll have to watch the movie in the Discord. Were they planning to head west from North America? They were just trying to get out of the this takes place during the American Civil War, and they were kind of imprisoned in the town of Richmond, and they were literally just trying to get away from there. So they didn't want to go very far at all. They just they didn't want to leave the States. They weren't even fleeing the war. They were just trying to get out of Richmond. But instead, they got swept out to sea, and they're now in the southern hemisphere. So crazy, crazy times. Understandable. I used to live there. He does love the balloons. We haven't read Around the World in 80 Days yet, but we will have to do that. We do love Top the dog. I'm not even a dog person, but I love Top the dog. Top's the main character. Richmond, Virginia. Yep. I think so. I believe so. Okay. So they're very happy. The man who they had believed lost at sea is also a very useful man to have around because he's an engineer. However, they do seem to the rest of them kind of seem to, like, they've said a lot of things like, oh, if Cyrus were still alive, he could do this. I worry that they're expecting too much from him. But anyways, he is a clever man. He is now alive. Plus they have a dog, which helps with hunting. Good boys are good boys regardless of their species. I mean, I can't argue with that. Oh, you went to college there. Okay. Okay. Now we are starting with chapter 10. So, if you would like to read along with me, then in both the YouTube chats, there's a pinned comment with a link to where you can read this for free, or if you're watching the pod later, it's in the description down below. And of course, on Twitch, at any point, you can do !book, and that brings up the information that you need. Oh no, wait, I guess, I had this pinned, but I guess I forgot to keep it perma-pinned. Yes, again, if anyone on Twitch wants to open up the YouTube stream, that would be freaking amazing. Alright. So yes, the cast. We have Cyrus Smith, the engineer, his manservant Nebuchadnezzar, aka Neb, and his dog, Top, a reporter named Gideon Spilett, a sailor named Pencroff. I don't remember his first name, but that doesn't seem to be important. And Pencroff's kind of adopted teenage son, Herbert. So that is the cast. Okay. And Cyrus, even though he's only been rescued for like they rescued him, brought him back to where they're staying, he's rested for like maybe 1 day, and now he's like, okay, our next mission is to climb that mountain so that we can tell if we're on an island or a continent. So, I probably would have rested an extra day, but I guess that's why Cyrus is better than me. I don't know. Okay. Hi, Allie. Welcome back. How's it going? You can't climb mountains most days. Yeah, same. Same. Okay. Chapter 10. A few minutes afterwards, the 3 hunters were seated before a sparkling fire. Beside them sat Cyrus Smith and the reporter. Pencroff looked from one to the other without saying a word, his cabiai in his hand. Oh yeah, they went hunting and they found capybaras and killed a capybara. So that's what they've brought home for the hunt. Oh, and they were worried because their fire had gone out, and they had no more matches, but they've come home from hunting with the Grand Peak, yeah, and a fire has been lit. So, we're going to find out how the engineer managed to light a fire without any matches or flint or anything. Okay. Pencroff looked from one to the other without saying a word, his cabiai in his hand. Yes, my good fellow, said the reporter. A fire, a real fire that will roast your game to a turn. But who lighted it? Said the sailor. The sun. The sailor could not believe his eyes and was too stupefied to question the engineer. Had you a burning glass, sir? Asked Herbert of Cyrus Smith. No, my boy, said he, but I made one. And he showed his extemporized lens. It was simply the 2 glasses from his own watch and the reporter's, which he had taken out, filled with water, and stuck together at the edges with a little clay. Thus he had made a veritable burning glass, and by concentrating the solar rays on some dry moss, had set it on fire. The sailor examined the lens. Then he looked at the engineer without saying a word, but his face spoke for him. If Smith was not a magician to him, he was certainly more than a man. At last his speech returned, and he said, Put that down, Mr. Spilett. Put that down in your book. I have it down, said the reporter. Then, with the help of Neb, the sailor arranged the spit and dressed the cabiai for roasting like a suckling pig before the sparkling fire, by whose warmth and by the restoration of the partitions, the chimneys had been rendered habitable. The engineer and his companion had made good use of their day. Smith had almost entirely recovered his strength, which he had tested by climbing the plateau above. From thence his eye, accustomed to measure heights and distances, had attentively examined the cone whose summit he proposed to reach on the morrow. The mountain, situated about 6 miles to the northwest, seemed to him to reach about 3,500 feet above the level of the sea, so that an observer posted at its summit could command a horizon of 50 miles at least. He hoped, therefore, for an easy solution of the urgent question, island or continent. Artax, thank you for gifting a sub to Phoenix. That is so sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you. And hi, Phoenix. They had a pleasant supper, and the meat of the cabiai was proclaimed excellent. The sargassum and pistachio nuts completed the repast. But the engineer said little. He was planning for the next day. Once or twice Pencroff talked of some project for the future, but Smith shook his head. Tomorrow, he said, we will know how we are situated, and we can act accordingly. After supper, more armfuls of wood were thrown on the fire, and the party lay down to sleep. The morning found them fresh and eager for the expedition, which was to settle their fate. Everything was ready. Enough was left of the cabiai for 24 hours' provision, and they hoped to replenish their stock on the way. They charred a little linen for tinder, as the watch glasses had been replaced, and flint abounded in this volcanic region. I'm curious, what is with charring the cloth? Like, how does that make tinder to have charred it, as opposed to just using cloth as like a starter thing? Hi, Emhorn. There's 5 characters. There's an engineer named Cyrus Smith, and his servant Neb, and his dog Top, so I guess 6 characters. And there's the reporter, Gideon Spilett, and there is Pencroff the sailor, and there's Herbert the sailor's adopted son. It keeps an ember? How? Isn't it just like... Aren't they just like... Oh, I thought they were saying they just like burn the cloth and then put the fire out, so it's just kind of... Yeah, I don't know. We already know. We know it's an island. Yeah, the title gives it away, but they don't know that yet. It's Pencroff. I can spell it for you. Pencroff. It stays hot enough to start again later. Really? Oh, wow. Okay. I did not know that. Okay. At 7:30, they left the chimneys, each with a stout cudgel. By Pencroff's advice, they took the route of the previous day, which was the shortest way to the mountain. They turned the southern angle and followed the left bank of the river, leaving it where it bent to the southwest. They took the beaten path under the evergreens and soon reached the northern border of the forest. The soil, flat and swampy, then dry and sandy, rose by a gradual slope towards the interior. Among the trees appeared a few shy animals, which rapidly took flight before Top. The engineer called his dog back. Later, perhaps they might hunt, but now nothing could distract him from his great object. He observed neither the character of the ground nor its products. He was going straight for the top of the mountain. At 10 o'clock they were clear of the forest, and they halted for a while to observe the country. The mountain was composed of 2 cones. The first was truncated, about 2,500 feet up, and supported by fantastic spurs branching out like the talons of an immense claw, laid upon the ground. Between these spurs were narrow valleys, thick-set with trees, whose topmost foliage was level with the flat summit of the first cone. On the northeast side of the mountain, vegetation was more scanty, and the ground was seamed here and there, apparently with currents of lava. Hi, Grant. Good to see you. On the first cone lay a second, slightly rounded towards the summit. It lay somewhat across the other, like a huge hat cocked over the ear. The surface seemed utterly bare, with reddish rocks often protruding. The object of the expedition was to reach the top of this cone, and their best way was along the edge of the spurs. "We're in a volcanic country," said Cyrus Smith, as they began to climb, little by little, up the side of the spurs, whose winding summit would most readily bring them out upon the lower plateau. The ground was strewn with traces of igneous convulsion. Here and there lay blocks, debris of basalt, pumice stone, and obsidian. In isolated clumps rose some few of those conifers, which, some hundreds of feet lower in the narrow gorges, formed a gigantic thicket, impenetrable to the sun. As they climbed these lower slopes, Herbert called attention to the recent marks of huge paws and hoofs on the ground. "These brutes will make a fight for their territory," said Pencroff. "Oh well," said the reporter, who had hunted tigers in India and lions in Africa, "we shall contrive to get rid of them. In the meanwhile, we must be on our guard." While talking, they were gradually ascending. The way was lengthened by detours around the obstacles which could not be directly surmounted. Sometimes, too, deep crevasses yawned across the ascent and compelled them to return upon their track for a long distance before they could find an available pathway. At noon, when the little company halted to dine at the foot of a great clump of firs, at whose foot babbled a tiny brook, they were still halfway from the first plateau and could hardly reach it before nightfall. From this point, the sea stretched broad beneath their feet, but on their right, their vision was arrested by the sharp promontory of the southeast, which left them in doubt whether there was land beyond. On the left, they could see directly north for several miles, but the northwest was concealed from them by the crest of a fantastic spur, which formed a massive abutment to the central cone. They could, therefore, make no approach as yet to the solving of the great question. Ooh, Keatern has given us some information on charcloth. Black, fragile piece of cloth, usually made from swatches of organic fabrics, packed into a small, almost airtight rectangular tin, then heated over coals for a long period of time. The material that remains after this process ignites very easily, making it the preferred tinder when lighting a fire using flint and steel. Hey, thank you for looking that up and sharing that. They got obsidian, they can make another portal. Okay, very interesting. So just something that's extremely flammable. Cool. Yeah, so it's not actually like keeping a flame going, it just then will catch on fire really easily. Okay. At 1 o'clock, the ascent was again begun. The easiest route slanted upwards towards the southwest, through a thick copse. There, under the trees, were flying about a number of gallinaceae of the pheasant family. These were tragopans, adorned with a sort of fleshy wattles hanging over their necks, and with 2 little cylindrical horns behind their eyes. Of these birds, which were about the size of a hen, the female was invariably brown, while the male was resplendent in a coat of red, with little spots of white. With a well-aimed stone, Spilett killed one of the tragopans, which the hungry Pencroff looked at with longing eyes. Leaving the copse, the climbers, by mounting on each other's shoulders, ascended for 100 feet up a very steep hill, and reached a terrace almost bare of trees, whose soil was evidently volcanic. From hence their course was a zigzag towards the east, for the declivity was so steep that they had to take every point of vantage. Neb and Herbert led the way. Then came Smith and the reporter. Pencroff was last. The animals who lived among these heights, and whose traces were not wanting, must have the sure foot and the supple spine of a chamois or an izzard. They saw some to whom Pencroff gave a name of his own. "Sheep!" he cried. They all had stopped 50 feet from half a dozen large animals, with thick horns curved backwards and flattened at the end, and with woolly fleece hidden under long, silky, fawn-colored hair. They were not the common sheep, but a species widely distributed through the mountainous regions of the temperate zone. Their name, according to Herbert, was mouflon. That's just Top barking in the background. Yeah, this is a great animal to have if they're... Calm down, Top. No, you can't eat the mouflon, Top. Okay? Can't just attack them. Wikipedia says you could also make it from tampons instead of linen. Good to know. Good to know. Honestly, I feel like anyone going backpacking should bring tampons, even if it's all dudes in the group. Like, they're just very useful little things to have for a variety of uses. Like, if you're going out on some crazy trail or climb or something, just grab a little box of tampons. You never know. I am actually going to close my window because that dog sounds rabid. Hold on. Mixed boy, thank you for, oh my god, the 50 stream streak. Thank you so much. Holy moly. Oh, I'm sorry, M. Warren. Well, it is always Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights, so don't worry, I'm not gonna just start reading on a random day, so you won't miss it. And even if you ever do miss stream, you can always listen to the story again afterwards on my YouTube channel. So, okay. Have they legs and chops? Asked the sailor. Yes, replied Herbert. Then they're sheep, said Pencroff. The animals stood motionless and astonished at their first sight of man. Then, seized with a sudden fear, they fled, leaping away among the rocks. Goodbye till next time, cried Pencroff to them, in a tone so comical that the others could not forbear laughing. As the ascension continued, the traces of lava were more frequent, and little sulfur springs intercepted their route. At some points, sulfur had been deposited in crystals in the midst of the sand and whitish cinders of feldspar, which generally precede the eruption of lava. As they neared the first plateau, formed by the truncation of the lower cone, the ascent became very difficult. By 4 o'clock, the last belt of trees had been passed. Here and there stood a few dwarfed and distorted pines, which had survived the attacks of the furious winds. Fortunately for the engineer and his party, it was a pleasant, mild day, for a high wind at that altitude of 3,000 feet would have interfered with them sadly. The sky overhead was extremely bright and clear. A perfect calm reigned around them. The sun was hidden by the upper mountain, which cast its shadow like a vast screen westward to the edge of the sea. A thin haze began to appear in the east, colored with all the rays of the solar spectrum. There were only 500 feet between the explorers and the plateau where they meant to encamp for the night. But these 500 were increased to 2,000 and more by the tortuous route. The ground, so to speak, gave way under their feet. The angle of ascent was often so obtuse that they slipped upon the smooth, worn lava. Little by little, the evening set in, and it was almost night when the party, tired out by a 7 hours climb, arrived at the top of the first cone. Now they must pitch their camp and think of supper and sleep. The upper terrace of the mountain rose upon a base of rocks, amid which they could soon find a shelter. Firewood was not plenty, yet the moss and dry thistles, so abundant on the plateau, would serve their turn. The sailor built up a fireplace with huge stones, while Neb and Herbert went after the combustibles. They soon came back with a load of thistles, and with flint and steel, the charred linen for tinder, and Neb to blow the fire. A bright blaze was soon sparkling behind the rocks. It was for warmth only, for they kept the pheasant for the next day, and supped off the rest of the cabiai and a few dozen pistachio nuts. Why are they up here? They're climbing the mountain to be able to see for as far as possible, to know if they're on an island or a continent. Because if they're on an island, their priorities are going to be very different than if they're on a continent. Right? Yeah. Okay. It was only 6:30 when the meal was ended. Cyrus Smith resolved to explore, in the semi-obscurity, the great circular pediment which upheld the topmost cone of the mountain. Before taking rest, he was anxious to know whether the base of the cone could be passed, in case its flank should prove too steep for ascent. So, regardless of fatigue, he left Pencroff and Neb to make the sleeping arrangements, and Spilett to note down the incidents of the day, and, taking Herbert with him, began to walk around the base of the plateau towards the north. The night was beautiful and still, and not yet very dark. They walked together in silence. Sometimes the plateau was wide and easy, sometimes so encumbered with rubbish that the two could not walk abreast. Finally, after 20 minutes' tramp, they were brought to a halt. From this point, the slant of the two cones was equal. To walk around the mountain upon an acclivity whose angle was nearly 75 degrees was impossible. But though they had to give up their flank movement, the chance of a direct ascent was suddenly offered to them. Before them opened an immense chasm in the solid rock. It was the mouth of the upper crater, the gullet, so to speak, through which, when the volcano was active, the eruption took place. Inside, hardened lava and scoria formed a sort of natural staircase with enormous steps by which they might possibly reach the summit. Lexi! Hello, Raiders! Hello, hello, hello! Lexi, thank you so much for the raid. Hi, General Rejo. President Liana, hello, hello. Hi, Bailey-Bug. Hello, everyone. Lexi, how the heck are ya? How was your stream? Goth PJs? No, they're not my PJs. Let me give you a shout out. I've been doing pretty well, Rejo. How about yourself? Hello, everyone. Welcome in. First off, anyone who's not following Lexi should definitely be following Lexi because she is incredibly talented at ASMR. She does such tingly, cozy content, and I can pretty much guarantee tingles over there. It is very, very good. And Lexi herself is just freaking awesome and hilarious and kind. You'll be lurking? No worries. Welcome in, you guys. We are currently doing the reading portion of our stream, and we are reading The Mysterious Island. You're getting married? Hell yeah, Lexi. Let's go. Yes, Lexi did recently make partner. Oh my goodness. So exciting. Wait, when are you getting married? Because your partner now. He's like, I wasn't gonna marry you when you were just affiliate. Okay, October weddings are wonderful. Oh my goodness. Lexi, thank you so much. If for some reason you're still hanging out when we're done the reading portion, please feel free to claim a name trace. But also, please feel free to, skedaddle if you need to. Yeah. Oh yeah. Once you make partner, I mean, you're just rolling in it, right? Like, that's... Oh, okay. So everything is coming up, Lexi, is what I'm hearing. Girl, that's awesome. That is so great. Yes, if any of you would like to read along, we are in chapter 10 of The Mysterious Island, and you can read it for free there. Yeah, we'll probably read another couple chapters after this, and then, assuming my crooked old back bits are not in too much pain, then we will do some more. We'll open up trigger redeems again after that. Okay, Lexi, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so we've got 5 men and a dog stranded on an island. They are currently climbing a mountain. Well, they don't know it's an island. They don't know if it's an island or part of a continent. And they can't see because there's a big mountain in the way. So they are climbing a mountain to see what's on the other side. To be able to see if this is an island. Which, the title of the book is The Mysterious Island, so I think we can hazard a guess. But they don't know yet, so they are climbing this mountain. It is a volcano, really. Oh, Uncle Gamer, I'm so sorry. It sucks, man. But, well, if you think you're dying, go to the hospital. Damn. There are some kind of mountainous sheep. It's in the southern hemisphere. It has capybaras. I'm guessing, like, what, like they, yeah, I don't know exactly where. We don't know exactly. Okay. It was the mouth of the upper crater, the gullet, so to speak, through which, when the volcano was active, the eruption took place. Inside, hardened lava and scoria formed a sort of natural staircase with enormous steps, by which they might possibly reach the summit. Smith saw the opportunity at a glance, and followed by the boy, he walked unhesitatingly into the huge crevasse in the midst of the gathering darkness. There were yet 1,000 feet to climb. Could they scale the interior wall of the crater? They would try, at all events. Fortunately, the long and sinuous declivities described a winding staircase, and greatly helped their ascent. The crater was evidently exhausted. Not a puff of smoke, not a glimmer of fire escaped, not a sound or motion in the deep abyss, reaching down, perhaps, to the center of the globe. And he's got his themes, doesn't he? He likes his balloons, he likes his volcanoes, he likes going down to the center of the earth. Jules Verne likes what he likes. The air within retained no taint of sulfur. The volcano was not only quiet, but extinct. Evidently, the attempt was to succeed. Gradually, as the two mounted the inner walls, they saw the crater grow larger over their heads. The light from the outer sky visibly increased. At each step, so to speak, which they made, new stars entered the field of their vision. The magnificent constellations of the southern sky shone resplendent. In the zenith glittered the splendid Antares of the Scorpion, and not far off that Beta of the Centaur, which is believed to be the nearest star to our terrestrial globe. Then, as the crater opened, appeared Fomalhaut of the Fish, the Triangle, and, at last, almost at the Antarctic pole, the glowing Southern Cross. Welcome in, begging for a pagan. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. It was nearly 8 o'clock when they set foot on the summit of the cone. The darkness was by this time complete, and they could hardly see a couple of miles around them. Was the land an island, or the eastern extremity of a continent? They could not yet discover. Towards the west, a band of cloud, clearly defined against the horizon, deepened the obscurity and confounded sea with sky. But at one point of the horizon suddenly appeared a vague light, which slowly sank as the clouds mounted to the zenith. It was the slender crescent of the moon, just about to disappear. But the line of the horizon was now cloudless, and as the moon touched it, the engineer could see her face mirrored for an instant on a liquid surface. He seized the boy's hand. "An island," said he, as the lunar crescent disappeared behind the waves. End of chapter. Did you miss anything? Oh my god, Fidge, everything. Everything. You've missed everything. But whatever, it's fine. I don't need you. Totally fine. Whatever. Whatever. I didn't take it personally. It's fine. It's fine. Hey, foodie. Okay. So they have realized now. They have realized what we all started the book knowing. They're on an island. No, but really, Fidge, how are you doing? How was your stream? I saw that you were streaming. Did you guys know that Fidge sometimes streams? The tubers have been behaving. Yes, it's true. The tubers have been behaving. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't able to, like, be there and hang out during it since my stream was at the same time. No, but Fidge does really fun content. Sometimes gaming, sometimes just chatting or co-working. Sometimes his kids are there. But if you want to basically hang out with Fidge and get your fill of some, like, awesome sarcastic dad energy, or, like, watch a lava lamp, that's the place to be. And he's got a pupper now. You can start misbehaving. Okay, no, that's fine, but I appreciate the offer. Yours did start first, it's true. It's true. Okay, alright. Oh, Jesus. Your daughter's out to kill me. Okay. Throwing a banana at Buddha? Alright. So, shall we dive into the next chapter? She didn't know. No, I know. It's okay. We do read here. Hi, Ash. Well, that's very considerate of you, Fidge. Aww. That's actually really cute. I mean, theoretically, if I, separate it in my mind from a phobia. Man, I am very relieved for them to hear that this volcano is extinct. Like, the only thing worse than being stranded on an island is being stranded on an island with a volcano on it. Like, that's extra bad luck. But this volcano, it seems, is completely dormant. Like, not just dormant, but, like, dead. I don't know, Fidge. I don't want to think about it. Alright. I don't know, Artax. Are they going to use the chert and feldspar to make Neolithic weapons? I imagine they will start to make weapons, yeah. I don't know, Vengeful. Where have you heard that before? Alright. So I guess they don't need to continue climbing? Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know, Vengeful. Chapter 11. A half hour later, they walked back to the camp. The engineer contented himself with saying to his comrades that the country was an island, and that tomorrow they would consider what to do. Then each disposed himself to sleep, and in this basalt cave, I always forget, is it basalt or basalt? I feel like I've heard both. Let me double check. Basalt? Hold on. Oh, it is basalt. Oh. Well, I was wrong on both counts. Okay. Wait, that's American pronunciation. I want to hear the British. Oh, the British pronunciation puts the emphasis on the first syllable. Basalt. Basalt. And the American is basalt. So being Canadian, which do I choose? Because I feel like I've heard basalt. Okay, that's interesting. Because both at the same time. Basalt! That was too loud, apparently. That made my microphone clip out. Oh, Goose. Sorry, the redeems are... I thought I had paused it. They're paused until we're done reading. Sorry about that. Say it like you do bagel, in a way no one else does. Other Canadians say it like that. Toasty says it the same way. She says bagel as well. No, it's okay, Goose. I tried to pause them all, but I guess I missed that one. Okay. Basalt. I feel like that must be how we say it well, we'd probably say a mix of it in Canada, but I feel like I've heard it with the emphasis on the first syllable. You and Toasty are wrong? No. Nope. I'm sorry. We are correct. Yeah, which syllable do you put the emphasis on? Okay. Okay. Then each disposed himself to sleep, and in this basalt cave, 2,500 feet above sea level, they passed a quiet night in profound repose. The next day, March 30th, after a hurried breakfast on roast trajapan, they started out for the summit of the volcano. All desired to see the isle on which perhaps they were to spend their lives, and to ascertain how far it lay from other land and how near the course of vessels bound for the archipelagos of the Pacific. Artex, thank you for the 200 biddies. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning when they left the camp. No one seemed dismayed by the situation. They had faith in themselves, no doubt. But the source of that faith was not the same with Smith as with his companions. But they trusted in him. He, in his ability to extort from the wilderness around them all the necessaries of life. As for Pencroff, he would not have despaired, since the rekindling of the fire by the engineer's lens, if he had found himself upon a barren rock, if only Smith was with him. "Bah," said he, "we got out of Richmond without the permission of the authorities, and it will be strange if we can't get away sometime from a place where no one wants to keep us." They followed the route of the day before, flanking the cone till they reached the enormous crevasse. It was a superb day, and the southern side of the mountain was bathed in sunlight. The crater, as the engineer had supposed, was a huge shaft, gradually opening to a height of 1,000 feet above the plateau. From the bottom of the crevasse, large currents of lava meandered down the flanks of the mountain, indicating the path of the eruptive matter down to the lower valleys which furrowed the north of the island. The interior of the crater, which had an inclination of 35 or 40 degrees, was easily scaled. They saw on the way traces of ancient lava, which had probably gushed from the summit of the cone before the lateral opening had given it a new way to escape. As to the volcano chimney, which communicated with the subterranean abyss, its depth could not be estimated by the eye, for it was lost in obscurity. But there seemed no doubt that the volcano was completely extinct. Before 8 o'clock, the party were standing at the summit of the crater, on a conical elevation of the northern side. Hi, Soup. Aw, thank you for coming in and saying hi. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. The sea everywhere, was the universal exclamation. There it lay, an immense sheet of water around them on every side. Perhaps Smith had hoped that daylight would reveal some neighboring coast or an island, but nothing appeared to the horizon line, a radius of more than 50 miles. Not a sail was in sight. Around the island stretched a desert infinity of ocean. Silent and motionless, they surveyed every point of the horizon. They strained their eyes to the uttermost limit of the ocean. Wait, did I say ocean before? Sorry, I think I may have misread that. They surveyed every point of the horizon. They strained their eyes to the uttermost limit of the ocean. But even Pencroff, to whom nature had given a pair of telescopes instead of eyes, and who could have detected land even in the faintest haze upon the sea line, could see nothing. Then they looked down upon their island, and the silence was broken by Spilett. "How large do you think this island is?" It seemed small enough in the midst of the infinite ocean. Smith thought a while, noticed the circumference of the island, and allowed for the elevation. "My friends," he said, "if I'm not mistaken, the coast of the island is more than 100 miles around. Then its surface will be... that is hard to estimate. The outline is so irregular." If Smith was right, the island would be about the size of Malta or Zante in the Mediterranean, but it was more irregular than they, and at the same time had fewer capes, promontories, points, bays, and creeks. Its form was very striking. When Spilett drew it, they declared it was like some fantastic sea beast, some monstrous pteropod, asleep on the surface of the Pacific. The exact configuration of the island may thus be described. The eastern coast, upon which the castaways had landed, was a decided curve, embracing a large bay, terminating at the southeast in a sharp promontory, which the shape of the land had hidden from Pencroff on the first exploration. On the northeast, 2 other capes shut in the bay, and between them lay a narrow gulf like the half-open jaws of some formidable dogfish. Sorry, laugh. Just a laugh's comment. Tell me what you see with your telescope elf eyes. From northeast to northwest, the coast was round and flat, like the skull of a wild beast. Then came a sort of indeterminate hump. And since its shape, like a croissant is. Then came a sort of indeterminate hump, whose center was occupied by the volcanic mountain. From this point, the coast ran directly north and south. For 2/3 of its length, it was bordered by a narrow creek. Then it finished in a long queue, like the tail of a gigantic alligator. This queue formed a veritable peninsula, which extended more than 30 miles into the sea, reckoning from the southeastern cape before mentioned. These 30 miles, the southern coast of the island, described an open bay. The narrowest part of the island, between the Chimneys and the creek on the west, was 10 miles wide, but its greatest length from the jaw in the northeast to the extremity of the southwestern peninsula was not less than 30 miles. Yeah, this is quite a description. Jules Verne has some beautiful prose, beautiful and descriptive prose, and sometimes he just kind of info dumps a little bit, you know? But anyway. It's fine. Apparently it looks like a beast, with a skull at the north and a tail at the south. The general aspect of the interior was as follows. The southern part, from the shore to the mountain, was covered with woods. The northern part was arid and sandy. Between the volcano and the eastern coast, the party were surprised to see a lake surrounded by evergreens, whose existence they had not suspected. Okay, move your fucking camp there. Stop living in your weird little chimney. Go make a home in the evergreen forest with a lake. God damn, that sounds way better. Way better. Oh yeah, this probably sounds way better in the original French. Viewed from such a height, it seemed to be on the same level with the sea, but on reflection, the engineer explained to his companions that it must be at least 300 feet higher, for the plateau on which it lay was as high as that of the coast. So then it is a freshwater lake? Asked Pencroff. Yes, said the engineer, for it must be fed by the mountain streams. I can see a little river flowing into it, said Herbert, pointing to a narrow brook whose source was evidently in the spurs of the western cliff. True, said Smith, and since this brook flows into the lake, there's probably some outlet towards the sea for the overflow. We will see about that when we go back. This little winding stream and the river, so familiar to them, were all the watercourses they could see. Nevertheless, it was possible that under these masses of trees which covered 2/3 of the island, other streams flowed towards the sea. This seemed the more probable from the fertility of the country and its magnificent display of the flora of the temperate zone. In the northern section, there was no indication of running water. Perhaps there might be stagnant pools in the swampy part of the northeast, but that was all. In the main, this region was composed of arid sandhills and downs, contrasting strongly with the fertility of the larger portion. The volcano did not occupy the center of the island. It rose in the northwest and seemed to indicate the dividing line of the two zones. On the southwest, south, and southeast, the beginning of the spurs were lost in masses of verdure. To the north, on the contrary, these ramifications were plainly visible, subsiding gradually to the level of the sandy plain. On this side, too, when the volcano was active, the eruptions had taken place, and a great bed of lava extended as far as the narrow jaw which formed the northeastern gulf. They remained for an hour at the summit of the mountain. The island lay stretched before them, like a plan in relief, with its different tints, green for the forests, yellow for the sands, blue for the water. They understood the configuration of the entire island, only the bottoms of the shady valleys and the depths of the narrow gorges between the spurs of the volcano, concealed by the spreading foliage, escaped their searching eye. There remained a question of great moment, whose answer would have a controlling influence upon the fortunes of the castaways. Was the island inhabited? It was the reporter who put this question, which seemed already to have been answered in the negative by the minute examination which they had just made of the different portions of the island. Nowhere could they perceive the handiwork of man, no late settlement on the beach, not even a lonely cabin or a fisherman's hut. No smoke rising on the air betrayed a human presence. It is true the observers were 30 miles from the long peninsula which extended to the southwest, and upon which even Pencroft's eye could hardly have discovered a dwelling. Nor could they raise the curtain of foliage which covered 3/4 of the island to see whether some villages lay sheltered there. But the natives of these little islands in the Pacific usually live on the coast, and the coast seemed absolutely desert. Until they should make a more complete exploration, they might assume that the island was uninhabited. But was it ever frequented by the inhabitants of neighboring islands? This question was difficult to answer. No land appeared within a radius of 50 miles, but 50 miles could easily be traversed by Malay canoes, or by the larger pirogues of the Polynesians. Everything depended upon the situation of the island, on its isolation in the Pacific or its proximity to the archipelagos. Could Smith determine, without his instruments, in determining its latitude and longitude? It would be difficult, and in the uncertainty, they must take precautions against an attack from savage neighbors. The exploration of the island was finished, its configuration determined, a map of it drawn, its size calculated, and the distribution of its land and water ascertained. The forests and the plains had been roughly sketched upon the reporter's map. They had only now to descend the They had only now to descend the declivities of the mountain and to examine into the animal, vegetable, and mineral resources of the country. But before giving the signal of departure, Cyrus Smith, in a calm, grave voice, addressed his companions. "Look, my friends, upon this little corner of the earth, on which the hand of the Almighty has cast us. Here, perhaps we may long dwell. Perhaps, too, unexpected help will arrive, should some ship chance to pass. I say chance, because this island is of slight importance, without even a harbor for ships. I fear it is situated out of the usual course of vessels, too far south for those which frequent the archipelagos of the Pacific, too far north for those bound to Australia, round Cape Horn. I will not disguise from you our situation. And you are right, my dear Cyrus, said the reporter eagerly. You are dealing with men. They trust you, and you can count on them. Can he not, my friends? I will obey you in everything, Mr. Smith, said Herbert, taking the engineer's hand. May I lose my name, said the sailor, if I shirk my part. If you choose, Mr. Smith, we will make a little America here. We will build cities, lay railroads, establish telegraphs, and someday, when the island is transformed and civilized, offer her to the United States. How are you going to do all that? How are you going to do all that? But one thing I should like to ask. What is that? Asked the reporter. That we should not consider ourselves any longer as castaways, but as colonists. Cyrus Smith could not help smiling, and the motion was adopted. Then Smith thanked his companions and added that he counted upon their energy and upon the help of heaven. They do have an engineer, but I don't know. We'll see what they can do. Through delusion, all things are possible. Okay. Well, let's start for the chimneys, said Pencroff. They are very competent men. Like, honestly, this is a solid group to be lost. We've got an engineer. He's just useful in a lot of ways. The sailor is going to have, like, a lot of skills to do with survival and weather, and, like, he's also going to be, like, you know, up for hard work, and he seems like a useful guy. Neb just seems, honestly, very obliging and strong and kind. I don't know. He seems like he could... They're going to have to do a lot of construction and stuff. But actually, Herbert, the teenage boy, is, like, very learned in the natural sciences, natural history. He's been the one that's identifying, like, animals and birds and plants and things. It said that he studied those things. So even the teenage boy is, like, quite useful. And then the dog, very useful to have a dog. The reporter is probably the least useful in terms of survival skills, but, you know, he had the paper to be able to draw a map. Like, he's contributing, but he's not useless. He's just, if they ever get saved, he'll be very useful, because he'll be chronicling their lives. But, yeah. Use impaired. Yeah, no, they're honestly so lucky that they have a dog there. If they don't, I'll break their ankles from wandering around a volcanic cone by starlight. Yeah, that was kind of crazy to do in the middle of the night. Alright. Well, let's start for the chimneys, said Pencroff. 1 minute, my friends, answered the engineer. Would it not be well to name the island, as well as the capes, promontories, and watercourses which we see before us? Good, said the reporter. That will simplify for the future the instructions which we may have to give or take. Yes, added the sailor. It will be something gained to be able to say whence we are going, or whence we are coming, and where we are going. We shall seem to be somewhere. At the chimneys, for instance, said Herbert. Exactly, said the sailor. That name has been quite convenient already, and I was author of it. Shall we keep that name for our first encampment, Mr. Smith? Yes, Pencroff, since you baptized it so. Good. The others will be easy enough. resumed the sailor, who was now in the vein. Let us give them names like those of the Swiss family Robinson, whose story Herbert has read me more than once. Providence Bay, Coquelot Point, Cochelot, Cochelot. I don't know how to say this. Hold on. Cachalot? Okay, it's Cachalot. Really? It's spelled with a C-O. How is it pronounced Cachalot? Why would it not be Cachalot? No, you guys, it's spelled like this. Right. What? How did that? How would that be pronounced Cachalot? Surely it would be Cachalot. Oh wait, no, that it did. It redirected to Cachalot. Okay, Cachalot. Wow. Apparently, this spelling is. It keeps wanting to redirect to Cachalot. Okay, well, I'm gonna pronounce it Cachalot then. You think I should go Coquelot? It could be. Sometimes CHs are pronounced like Ks. Because we have a silly alphabet. And the letter C is just not necessary. Okay. Providence Bay, Cachalot Point, Cape Disappointment, or rather Mr. Smith's name, Mr. Spilett's or Neb's, said Herbert. My name, said Neb, showing his white teeth. Why not, replied Pencroff. Port Neb would sound first-rate, and Cape Gideon. I would rather have names taken from our country, said the reporter, which will recall America to us. Yes, said Smith. The principal features, the bays and seas, should be so named. For instance, let us call the Great Bay to the east Union Bay, the southern indentation Washington Bay, the mountain on which we are standing, Mount Franklin, the lake beneath our feet, Lake Grant. You guys have the chance to name things and you're going with the most boring way about it. Hi, Star. It is a reference to the Never-Ending Story. Yes, it's a great movie and also one of my favorite books. Welcome in. We're reading The Mysterious Island. Yeah, this is, I mean, to get the chance to name things and just choose to name it after places, and I don't know. I understand it's coming from a place of patriotism and homesickness, but Star, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Is it still plagiarism if the author names its source? What are you referencing? In an essay? Or... These names will recall our country and the great citizens who have honored it. But for the smaller features, let us choose names which will suggest their special configuration. These will remain in our memory and be more convenient at the same time. The shape of the island is so peculiar that we shall have no trouble in finding appropriate names. The streams, the creeks, and the forest regions yet to be discovered, we will baptize as they come. What say you, my friends? The engineer's proposal was unanimously applauded. The inland bay unrolled like a map before their eyes, and they had only to name the features of its contour and relief. Spilett would put down the names over the proper places, and the geographical nomenclature of the island would be complete. First, they named the 2 bays and the mountain, as the engineer had suggested. That lake over there, that's bleed from your eyeballs lake. That would dissuade swimming. Now, said the reporter, to that peninsula projecting from the southwest, I propose to give the name of Serpentine Peninsula, and to call the twisted curve at the termination of it Reptile End, for it is just like a snake's tail. Motion carried, said the engineer. And the other extremity of the island, said Herbert, the gulf, so like an open pair of jaws. Let us call it Shark Gulf. Good enough, said Pencroff. And we may complete the figure by calling the 2 sides of the gulf Mandible Cape. Okay, that's the only good one so far. Mandible Cape is pretty cool. Oh, but there are 2 capes, observed the reporter. Well, we will have them North Mandible and South Mandible. I've put them down, said Spilett. Now we must name the southwestern extremity of the island, said Pencroff. You mean the end of Union Bay? Asked Herbert. Claw Cape, suggested Neb, who wished to have his turn as godfather, and he had chosen an excellent name, for this cape was very like the powerful claw of the fantastic animal to which they had compared the island. Pencroff was enchanted with the turn things were taking, and their active imagination soon supplied other names. The river which furnished them with fresh water, and near which the balloon had cast them on shore, they called the Mercy, in gratitude to Providence. The islet on which they first set foot was Safety Island, the plateau at the top of the high granite wall above the chimneys, from which the whole sweep of the bay was visible, Prospect Plateau, and finally that mass of impenetrable woods which covered Serpentine Peninsula, the forests of the far west. The engineer had approximately determined, by the height and position of the sun, the situation of the island with reference to the cardinal points, and had put Union Bay and Prospect Plateau to the east, but on the morrow, by taking the exact time of the sun's rising and setting and noting its situation at the noting its situation at the time exactly intermediate, he expected to ascertain precisely the northern point of the island. For on account of its situation on the southern hemisphere, the sun, at the moment of its culmination, would pass to the north and not to the south, as it does in the northern hemisphere. Oh my gosh, Star. Yes. Artax in the book can speak, and that swamp scene is even more tragic because Atreyu is trying to save him, and Artax is like, leave me, master. Like, it's so tragic because they're like, it's not just his loyal horse in the book, they're like actual friends that have full-on conversations. Never reading that? Were you not here when we read it? I did read it to you guys, but it was quite a while ago. It's so sad. Yeah, I've read it multiple times, and it makes me cry every time. It's so tragic. Like, because Atreyu's wearing the gem, and so, which protects him, and so he offers to Artax, he's like, let me put the gem around your neck so you can save yourself. And Artax is like, no, I don't have permission to wear it, just leave me. It's so sad. Go on without me. Like, that just, he didn't have to do us like that. Alright. All was settled, and the colonists were about to descend the mountain, when Pencroff cried, "Why, what idiots we are!" "Why so?" asked Spilett, who had gotten up and closed his notebook. "We have forgotten to baptize our island." Is that a thing? Is it a thing to do? Herbert. Oh, he just means name. Okay. I was thinking literally. I'm like... Herbert was about to propose to give it the name of the engineer, and his companions would have applauded the choice, when Cyrus Smith said quietly, "Let us give it the name of a great citizen, my friends, of the defender of American unity. Let us call it Lincoln Island." They greeted the proposal with 3 hurrahs. Really? Look, I'm not... There's nothing to do with thoughts on Lincoln. It's just... God, like, use your imaginations a little bit. It just seems like a wasted opportunity. Name it after the dog. Yeah. Top Island? Or like, this island looks like this crazy reptilian beast. Name it something cool about that. They did just come straight from fighting for the Union. I know, but imagination was not as intense as it is today. Yeah. It's just, it's annoying to have, like, the same names be used over and over and over. Top Dog Island would be awesome. I mean, they are trying to view themselves as colonists as opposed to castaways, because I guess it's like more empowering that way. And colonists do generally, or did generally, name the land they were colonizing after places or figureheads from the old country. So, hi Tyra, I'm doing all right. How are you doing? He stumbled so that science fiction authors could crawl. Repdoglia Island, also good. Also good. I don't remember who edited the text for the Odyssey, but we can have them replace the island name with Top Dog Island. Which is the whole way through. Call it Top Dog Island. Grand Pigu Island. Yeah. Right? Yeah, and just like create a whole religion around like a giant capybara, and like you could have so much fun with things. You know, like if you're stranded on an island, you might as well be creative and have fun. America wasn't named after anyway in English. Are you kidding? America wasn't named after stuff from England? New York is named after York. Hampshire, New Hampshire. Hampshire is a county in England. There's so many places in America that are named after England. Oh, there's nothing in the UK called America. I thought you meant the other way around. Well, the Americas is like the whole range of continents. The United States, America doesn't just mean the United States, right? You are the United States of America, which is bigger than you guys are. Formerly New Amsterdam, yeah. Oh my god. Quiet. There we go. Named after Amerigo Vespucci. Yeah. An Italian explorer, cartographer, and merchant who's credited with recognizing the Americas as a new continent. Vespucci, a banker by trade, made at least 2 transatlantic voyages between 1497 and 1501, sailing for both Spain and Portugal. During his expeditions, he explored the coasts of South America, mapped the Amazon River's mouth, and discovered new constellations. Wait, is there actually a place called Lizard Lick in North Carolina? Yeah, why? The United States of Vespuccia? Fraglia Island? As in Fraggle, like Fraggle Rock? Yes! Yes! You get stranded on a little island, call that place Fraggle Rock. Like, that would be so funny. That's a real place? Lizard Lick. Yes, there is a Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. You're doing okay. I'm glad to hear that, Tyra. Or you name it after, you know, feelings or whatever. You know, like, there's a place here in BC called Desolation Sound. You know, it doesn't have to be named after people. I do like that they called the river the Mercy. I think that, see, that's a good name. The Mercy, that's got a lot of feeling to it. Yeah, Hopetown, yeah. I like names like that. But yeah, I would definitely, if I were them, be looking to move the camp to the woods. I think that would be a better place to live. There is not actually a place called Bumfuck Nowhere. No way. We have a town in the East Coast called Dildo. Okay. We are going to read one more chapter, but I need just a couple minutes to stretch. You've been to Dildo? I've not been. Oh yeah, there's tons of funny names over in the UK. Yeah. Okay, so yes, just a couple minutes to stretch, and then I will be back. We will read one more chapter and then do some ASMR after that, okay? All right. BRB. All right. You made Michelle juice? Okay. Well, I'm very happy for Michelle, but you don't need to share everything. Okay. Oh. Alright, I'm hating my hair recently, you guys. Do I give myself bangs again? Already regretting growing out my bangs. Okay. Oh. Okay, let's read one more chapter together. So, oh, thank you, Star. No, it's just that I had bangs and I've been growing them out, and I don't know. It's probably just I didn't actually spend time doing my hair before stream today, so it's just kind of feeling bleh. But I feel like I need more pieces around my face or something. I feel like my hair looks like a wig right now. I don't know. Yeah, I need to get some bangs cut back in, if not full bangs. Yeah, just get like a clip-on fringe. All right. All right. Well, I am very disappointed in them all for their naming, how they named this island, but what you gonna do? Honestly, no, I'm expecting some really fucky shit to happen, because this is like we were saying on a previous stream, this is not just, you know, castaways, you know, this is not just survival on a deserted island. This is a mysterious island. I don't know yet in what way it is mysterious, but honestly I feel like this would be an interesting book to read, even if there was nothing fucky about the island and it was just like, here's a group of people surviving. Like that would still be an interesting story. So it's called The Mysterious Island, not that everything is super well named island. Fair enough. They are trying to involve, like, I appreciate, you know, these are smart men, they're intelligent, they thought to draw a map. I know maybe it seems obvious, but I feel like a different group of men might have climbed that mountain and not thought to draw a map. And like naming things is actually a really good idea, not only in being able to like give, you know, just communicate more easily, like, oh, I'm going there, we need to go there or whatever, but also just to, they're starting the process of accepting that they might live on this deserted island for the rest of their lives, you know, and starting to name things, I think, is part of like a psychological process of accepting that. And I think it's really good that they've done it. I just, whatever. It's fine. Okay. So, again, we're about to read chapter 12. If you want to read along, let me repost this in Twitch. There's the link if you want to read along. Also, a reminder / request, if you could, you know, hop over, you know, open up the YouTube stream. There's only a few of you over there, and it really helps, both in terms of like just the given watch hours for doing that, but also obviously the more people over there, the more hypothetically it gets pushed out to new viewers. So really appreciate it, anyone that's able to do that. Artax, thank you for the 101 biddies. Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Okay, I did say watch on YouTube. Thank you. We read here, we do. 666 tingles? The tingles of the devil. Okay. They didn't let Top name anything. Yeah, Top should have barked, and then they should have called something Bark Bay. That would have been adorable, right? We should rename everything. Okay. Star, thank you. Thank you for going over to YouTube. I really appreciate it. Yay. Bork Bay. Yes. Yes. Top is smarter than Toto in all 14 Oz books. Hey, Toto's smart because he's been able to talk the entire time he's been in Oz, and he's just refused to because he knows that then Dorothy would just like never stop talking to him. Artax, thank you for gifting a sub to Star, the one and only. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. That is so sweet. Star, I hope you enjoy the emotes over on Twitch. Although I hope you'll also keep watching on YouTube because it helps with watch hours. We'll get there, guys. It is a slow but steady track. You're the hype 2 guy. Okay. There's a dog barking outside. It sounds like he says fuck. That is funny. Aw. Thank you, Star. Okay. Chapter 12. The colonists of Lincoln Island cast a last look about them and walked once around the verge of the crater. Half an hour afterwards, they were again upon the lower plateau at their encampment of the previous night. Pencroff thought it was breakfast time, and so came up the question of regulating the watches of Smith and Spilett. The reporter's chronometer was uninjured by the seawater, as he had been cast high up on the sand beyond the reach of the waves. Chronometer? Which one is it, you guys? Chronometer. There you go. It's weird because I feel like with kilometer, you hear people saying it both ways. You hear kilometer and kilometer. So, yeah. Okay. The reporter's chronometer was uninjured by the seawater, as he had been cast high up on the sand beyond the reach of the waves. It was an admirable timepiece, a veritable pocket chronometer, and Spilett had wound it up regularly every day. The engineer's watch, of course, had stopped while he lay upon the downs. He now wound it up and set it at 9 o'clock, estimating the time approximately by the height of the sun. Spilett was about to do the same when the engineer stopped him. "Wait, my dear Spilett," said he. "You have the Richmond time, have you not?" "Yes." "Your watch, then, is regulated by the meridian of that city, which is very nearly that of Washington." "Certainly." "Well, keep it so. Wind it up carefully, but do not touch the hands. This may be of use to us." "What's the use of that?" thought the sailor. Surely you could just, like, after a while, you could switch them both to the current time. They made such a hearty meal that little was left of the meat and pistachio nuts, but Pencroff did not trouble himself about that. Top, who had not been forgotten in the feast, would certainly find some new game in the thicket. Besides, the sailor had made up his mind to ask Smith to make some powder and 1 or 2 shotguns, which he thought would be an easy matter. As they were leaving the plateau, Smith proposed to his companions to take a new road back to the Chimneys. He wished to explore Lake Grant, which lay surrounded so beautifully with trees. They followed the crest of one of the spurs in which the creek which fed the lake probably had its source. The colonists employed in conversation only the proper names which they had just devised, and found that they could express themselves much more easily. Herbert and Pencroff, one of whom was young and the other something of a child, were delighted, and the sailor said as they walked along, "Well, Herbert, this is jolly. We can't lose ourselves now, my boy, since whether we follow Lake Grant or get to the Mersey through the woods of the far west, we must come to Prospect Plateau, and so to Union Bay." It had been agreed that, without marching in a squad, the colonists should not keep too far apart. Dangerous wild beasts surely inhabited the forest recesses, and they must be on their guard. Usually Pencroff, Herbert, and Neb walked in front, preceded by Top, who poked his nose into every corner. The reporter and engineer walked together, the former ready to note down every incident, the latter seldom speaking, and turning aside only to pick up sometimes one thing, sometimes another, vegetable or mineral, which he put into his pocket without saying a word. "What the mischief is he picking up?" muttered Pencroff. "There's no use in looking. I see nothing worth the trouble of stooping for." About 10 o'clock, the little company descended the last declivities of Mount Franklin. A few bushes and trees were scattered over the ground. They were walking on a yellowish, calcined soil, forming a plain about a mile long, which extended to the border of the wood. Large fragments of that basalt which, according to Bishop's theory, has taken 350 million years to cool, strewed the uneven surface of the plain. Yet there was no trace of lava, which had especially found an exit down the northern declivities. Smith thought they should soon reach the creek, which he expected to find flowing under the trees by the plain, when he saw Herbert running back, and Neb and the sailor hiding themselves behind the rocks. "What's the matter, my boy?" said Spilett. "Smoke," answered Herbert. "We saw smoke ascending from among the rocks, 100 steps in front." "Men in this region!" cried the reporter. "We must not show ourselves till we know with whom we have to deal," answered Smith. "I have more fear than hope of the natives, if there are any such on the island. Where is Top?" "Top is on ahead, and has not barked." "No? That is strange. Still, let us try to call him back." In a few moments the three had rejoined their companions, and had hidden themselves, like Neb and Pencroff, behind the basalt rubbish. Thence they saw, very evidently, a yellowish smoke curling into the air. Top was recalled by a low whistle from his master, who motioned to his comrades to wait, and stole forward under cover of the rocks. In perfect stillness the party awaited the result, when a call from Smith summoned them forward. In a moment they were by his side, and were struck at once by the disagreeable smell which pervaded the atmosphere. This odor, unmistakable as it was, had been sufficient to reassure the engineer. "Nature is responsible for that fire," he said, "or rather, for that smoke. It is nothing but a sulfur spring, which will be good for our sore throats." "Hell yeah, they got hot springs." "Good," said Pencroff. "What a pity I have not a cold." The colonists walked towards the smoke. There they beheld a spring of sulfate of soda, which flowed in currents among the rocks, and whose waters, absorbing the oxygen of the air, gave off a lively odor of sulfohydric acid. Smith dipped his hand into the spring and found it oily. He tasted it and perceived a sweetish flavor. Its temperature he estimated at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and when Herbert asked him on what he based his estimate, "Simply, my boy," said he, "because when I put my hand into this water, I have no sensation, either of heat or of cold. Therefore, it is at the same temperature as the human body, that is, about 95 degrees. Then, as the spring of sulfur could be put to no present use, the colonists walked towards the thick border of the forest, a few hundred paces distant. There, as they had thought, the brook rolled its bright, limpid waters between high, reddish banks, whose color betrayed the presence of oxide of iron. On account of this color, they instantly named the watercourse Red Creek. It was nothing but a large mountain brook, deep and clear here, flowing quietly over the lands there, gurgling amid rocks or falling in a cascade, but always flowing towards the lake. It was 1.5 miles long. Its breadth varied from 30 to 40 feet. Its water was fresh, which argued that those of the lake would be found the same, a fortunate occurrence in case they should find upon its banks a more comfortable dwelling than the Chimneys. The trees, which a few hundred paces downstream overshadowed the banks of the creek, belonged principally to the species which abound in the temperate zone of Australia, or of Tasmania, and belonged to those conifers which clothe the portion of the island already explored, some miles around Prospect Plateau. It was now the beginning of April, a month which corresponds in that hemisphere to our October, yet their leaves had not begun to fall. They were especially casuarina. Casuarina. No, not at all like that. It's spelled like this. Apparently they're Australian pines. Casuarina. Casuarina and eucalypti, some of which in the ensuing spring would furnish a sweetish manna like those of the east. Clumps of Australian cedars rose in the glades, covered high with that sort of moss which the New Hollanders called tussocks. But the cocoa palm, so abundant in the archipelagos of the Pacific, was conspicuous by its absence. Oh no, they don't have chocolate? Probably the latitude of the island was too low. Oh man. Get balloon wrecked on a tropical island. You don't have chocolate. What a pity, said Herbert. Such a useful tree and such splendid nuts. There were flocks of birds on the thin boughs of the eucalypti and the casuarinae, which gave fine play to their wings. Black, white, and gray cockatoos, parrots and paroquets of all colors, kingbirds, birds of paradise of brilliant green with a crown of red, and blue lories glowing with every prismatic color, flew about with deafening clamors. All at once, a strange volley of discordant sounds seemed to come from the thicket. The colonists heard, one after another, the song of birds, the cries of four-footed beasts, and a sort of clucking sound, strangely human. Neb and Herbert rushed towards the thicket, forgetting the most elementary rules of prudence. Happily, there was neither formidable wild beast nor savage native, but merely half a dozen of those mocking birds which they recognized as mountain pheasants. A few skillfully aimed blows with a stick brought this parody to an end, and gave them excellent game for dinner that evening. Herbert also pointed out superb pigeons with bronze-colored wings, some with a magnificent crest, others clad in green, like their congeners at Port Macquarie. But like the troops of crows and magpies which flew about, they were beyond reach. A load of small shot would have killed hosts of them, but the colonists had nothing but stones and sticks, very insufficient weapons. They proved even more inadequate when a troop of quadrupeds leapt away through the underbrush with tremendous bounds 30 feet long, so that they almost seemed to spring from tree to tree like squirrels. "Kangaroos!" cried Herbert. "Can you eat them?" said Pencroff. "They make a delicious stew," said the reporter. The words had hardly escaped his lips when the sailor, with Neb and Herbert at his heels, rushed after the kangaroos. Smith tried in vain to recall them, but equally in vain did they pursue the game, whose elastic leaps left them far behind. After 5 minutes' chase, they gave it up, out of breath. "You see, Mr. Smith," said Pencroff, "the guns are a necessity. Will it be possible to make them?" "Perhaps," replied the engineer, "but we will begin by making bows and arrows, and you will soon use them as skillfully as the Australian hunters." "Bows and arrows," said Pencroff with a contemptuous look. "They are for children." "For a what?" "They're for children?" That's crazy logic. Hi, Landon. I thought it was gonna end up with a kangaroo punching Pencroff in the face. They're not in Australia, but they're kind of in the area, I guess. But definitely, like, they're on an island, not a continent, so it's not Australia proper. Okay. "Don't be so proud, my friend," said the reporter. "Bows and arrows were sufficient for many centuries for the warfare of mankind. Powder is an invention of yesterday, while war, unhappily, is as old as the race." "That's true, Mr. Spilett," said the sailor. "I always speak before I think. Forgive me." Meanwhile, Herbert, with his natural history always uppermost in his thoughts, returned to the subject of kangaroos. Possibly Tasmania. Can you see Australia from Tasmania? Like, can you see Australia? I thought they're fairly close, right? No, you can't? Oh. Because they can't see any land masses from the top of the volcano. Not close at all? Really? Okay. Maybe then. I don't know. "Those which escaped us," he said, "belong to the species most difficult to capture. Very large, with long gray hair, but I'm sure they are black and red kangaroos. Rock kangaroos. Kangaroo rats." "Herbert," said the sailor, "for me there is only one kind. The kangaroo on the spit, and that is just what we haven't got." I feel like I'm about to sneeze. They could not help laughing at Professor Pencroff's new classification. He was much cast down at the prospect of dining on mountain pheasants, but chance was once more kind to him. Top, who felt his dinner at stake, rushed hither and thither, his instinct quickened by sharp appetite. In fact, he would have left very little of what he might catch on. In fact, he would have left very little of what he might catch for anyone else. Sorry, it was a typo. Of what he might catch for anyone else, had not Neb watched him shrewdly. Around 3 o'clock, he disappeared into the rushes, from which came grunts and growls, which indicated a deadly tussle. Neb rushed in and found Top greedily devouring an animal, which in 10 seconds more would have totally disappeared. But the dog had luckily fallen on a litter, and 2 more rodents, for to this species did the beasts belong, lay strangled on the ground. No. Neb reappeared in triumph with a rodent in each hand. They had yellow hair, with patches of green and the rudiments of a tail. They were a sort of agouti, a little larger than their tropical congeners, true American hares, with long ears and 5 molar teeth on either side. Oh, the little agoutis. Hurrah! Cried Pencroff. The roast is here. Now we can go back to the house. The journey was resumed. Well, see, that's why I'm a little confused, and maybe I just have too limited a knowledge of fauna. But I was thinking at first it was more like South America vibes, because it mentioned like capybaras and these little like agoutis and things like that. It seems more like South American, but then it's got kangaroos. I don't know. They're on the island at Sydney Zoo. The journey was resumed. Red Creek still rolled its limpid waters under the arching boughs of casuarents. I'm sorry, guys. He's using all these terms. I'm usually, I think, decent at guessing at pronunciations, but casuarents. Under the arching boughs of casuarents, banksies, and gigantic gum trees. Superb liliaceae rose to a height of 20 feet, and other arborescent trees of species unknown to the young naturalist bent over the brook, which murmured gently beneath its leafy cradle. It widened sensibly, nevertheless, and the mouth was evidently near. As the party emerged from a massive thicket of fine trees, the lake suddenly appeared before them. They were now on its left bank, and a picturesque region opened to their view. The smooth sheet of water, about 7 miles in circumference and 250 acres in extent, lay sleeping among the trees. Towards the east, across the intermittent screen of verdure, appeared a shining horizon of sea. To the north, the curve of the lake was concave, contrasting with the sharp outline of its lower extremity. Numerous aquatic birds frequented the banks of this little Ontario, in which the 1,000 isles of its American original were represented by a rock emerging from its surface some hundreds of feet from the southern bank. There lived in harmony several couples of kingfishers perched upon rocks, grave and motionless, watching for fish. Then they would plunge into the water and dive with a shrill cry, reappearing with the prey in their beaks. Upon the banks of the lake and the island were constantly strutting wild ducks, pelicans, water hens, and red beaks. The waters of the lake were fresh and limpid, somewhat dark, and from the concentric circles on its surface were evidently full of fish. "How beautiful this lake is," said Spilett. "We could live on its banks." "We will live there," answered Smith. The colonists, desiring to get back to the Chimneys by the shortest route, went down towards the angle formed at the south by the junction of the banks. They broke a path with much labor through the thickets and brushwood, hitherto untouched by the hand of man, and walked towards the seashore, so as to strike it to the north of Prospect Plateau. After a 2 miles walk, they came upon the thick turf of the plateau, and saw before them the infinite ocean. To get back to the Chimneys, they had to walk across the plateau for a mile to the elbow formed by the first bend of the Mersey, but the engineer was anxious to know how and where the overflow of the lake escaped. It was probable that a river existed somewhere pouring through a gorge in the granite. In fine, the lake was an immense receptacle, gradually filled at the expense of the creek, and its overflow must somehow find a way down to the sea. Why should they not utilize this wasted store of water power? So they walked up the plateau, following the banks of Lake Grant, but after a tramp of a mile they could find no outlet. It was now 4:30, and dinner had yet to be prepared. The party returned upon its track and reached the Chimneys by the left bank of the Mersey. Then the fire was lighted, and Neb and Pencroff, on whom devolved the cooking, in their respective... Sorry, just... I don't even know how to... You know, I disclose that I have been changing just a few words. Basically, the only thing I've been changing is descriptions of Neb. You know, changing... just saying, like, instead, like, the man, or just his name or something. But in this one, it's saying... in their... even if I change it to say black man, it's like, on whom devolves the cooking in the respective characters of black man and sailor. Like, for Pencroff, it's because of his, like, his career as a sailor that he has learned these skills. For Neb, it's just, like, because he's a black man, you know? Like, it's a very different framework. So I don't even, there's no way for me to change this to, like, get rid of that inherent racism in there, right? Like, anyway, that's what made me pause. Skillfully broiled the agouti, to which the hungry explorers did great honor. When the meal was over, and just as they were settling themselves to sleep, Smith drew from his pocket little specimens of various kinds of minerals, and said quietly, "My friends, this is iron ore, this pyrites, this clay, this limestone, this charcoal. Nature gives us these as her part in the common task. Tomorrow we must do our share." End of chapter. Oh, they've got a lot of materials there. That's lucky. And the crazy thing is that this book probably would have been seen as really, like, not racist at the time. The men here treat Neb very well. They are kind to him. They care about him. They are treating him like an equal. He is technically Cyrus Smith's servant, like, back in America. I guess he paid him, right? He's not a slave. He's the son of slaves, but he is a free man. But all the way he's portrayed as, like, just so loyal to Cyrus. Like, it's... Yeah. It's almost like racism is a deeper issue. Yeah. It's like... Oh yeah, well, and Enko, that's why we have these conversations. I will change like odd words as we go along to just make it, I don't know, less blah. But we have these conversations, right? Like his whole characterization is just kind of servile, right? So even though possibly, and I don't know for sure, possibly by the standard, like, I don't feel like Jules Verne is like trying to do like I said, like they're treating him well, but it's just kind of that inherently racist characterization, right? Like, just whether it's coming from a place of malice or not, it's like very apparently there, and it is uncomfortable, and it's important that it's uncomfortable. It's important that we acknowledge that. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, okay, they've got a lot of different materials there. That's very lucky. They've got fresh water. They've got a variety of flora and fauna. They got fresh water. They got sulfur water, which is useful. As far as an island to be stranded on, like, this seems like an island that can sustain them, even if they never find a way off. So, I mean, that is, unless there's something mysterious about it. Anyway, so we got another few chapters done tonight. Overall, I'm still really enjoying it. I feel like those chapters were a little more to wade through, just in terms of Jules Verne's propensity to just kind of go into exposition mode. But we know more now, and so do they. And I'm really curious to see what happens next time, if they immediately set out for building a new little homestead near the lake, which is what I would do. It's already shown that these the chimneys that they're living in, if there's a big storm, it just gets flooded, right? So yeah, maybe they'll build a little house. We shall see. We shall see. But yes, thank you to everyone who watched. We are going to be ending the YouTube stream. We're going to keep going a little bit longer on Twitch, and possibly going live on the other YouTube channel. I don't know how much longer. I've had a really sore back all day, so probably not ages, but it would be nice to do at least half an hour of ASMR. Hopefully longer, but I don't want to make any promises. But as for story time, I will be back next on Tuesday night. And oh, really? You can't post links? Okay, let me do it. There we go. My other... Wait, why is it not posting? Oh my god, it posted it in the Twitch chat? Why won't it post it in the YouTube chat? Sorry. That's crazy. I had my cursor over the YouTube chat and it just posted it in Twitch chat anyways. Thank you, Fidge. Thank you. Yes, the links are also like in my channel page description. Hi, Ellie. Yeah, so I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm trying to be reliable about starting the reading section at 9:15 Pacific time. So, hope to see you then. If you want to hang out for the little bit more that we do, make sure to come on over to Twitch or, sub to the other YouTube channel. And yes, thank you so much to... Was that really loud? Sorry. Thank you so much to everyone who watched on YouTube and for helping out with those watch hours. And make sure to sub if you enjoyed it. And to, drop a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Good night, YouTube. Good night, YouTube.